Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tiny Bunny. Last time in Tiny Bunny, we met a cute fox girl, a cute schoolgirl, a shit-eating grin girl, and we got bullied relentlessly by 3 plebs. Oh, and we became a furry. And then made it back home eventually, so... Let's see, I think the last thing we did was... Oh yeah, we were here at draw. I guess I should look at the logs, actually. No, I think he said he had to do homework here. I needed to draw some sort of magic beast. I wanted to draw a dino at first, but my brush reached towards the orange paint all by itself. Ooh. Ooh. That actually kind of looks creepy. You put black eyes on anything, it looks dead creepy. One stroke after another, the picture of a fox started slowly forming on a piece of paper. She was almost popping out of the snow-white sheet. She stood on her back legs and wore a sly smile. My brush moved again, drawing a fluffy tail. A moment later, it dropped out of my weak hand. After I finished my drawing, I spent a while studying it in surprise, as if I couldn't understand where this red beast came from. The longer I looked, the scarier her smile felt. It looks really good, though. Carnivorous fake. Like the smiles of women from adult magazines. I think he meant from. Adult magazines that were sold in press kiosks back in the city. An alluring smile that masked deep-seated malice. The fox's eyes turned out red, as if bloodshot. They looked more like a bullet holes you see in action movies. I don't remember drawing them this way. I moved away from the table and the lamp's light reflected from the wet paint. The drawing was glossy. It felt like the fox was watching me. Waiting.
Anton!
Whoa, bro, Dad, why would he come in and scream in my ear like this?
Ты что, оглох?
Oh, I see, he must have been calling us for a while.
Я задумался.
One thing I want to say, I don't know if I said this in the last video, but oh my god, the voice acting is so good for this. Russian sounds really nice when you just kind of hear it casually. I guess like I feel that way when I listen to Russian and Italian. When I hear those languages like spoken by native speakers, it just sounds really nice to my ears.
Тебя спрашиваю, ты сестру не видел? Опять она где-то прячется.
Something moved under my bed and I froze. Olia's dirty face peeked out with a finger pressed to her lips.
Оля, я тебя вижу. Вылезай, ты же в пыли вся.
Olia crawled from under the bed and started dusting off her stockings, looking down.
Пойдем, Оль. Я тебе сказку почитаю. Посижу с тобой, пока не уснешь.
Я с вами спать хочу. Не в той комнате. Там...
Mom entered the room.
Что, опять сова?
А кто ж еще? Оль, она не придет больше. Я ее прогнал.
Olia shook her head in defiance.
Не прогнал. Она придет. Она сказала, что будет каждую ночь приходить.
О, так она у тебя говорящая?
Olia ignored the question and then asked with newfound determination.
Можно я с вами посплю? Можно? В самый последний раз.
Ты же говорила, что последний раз был вчера.
Ольга, ты уже большая девочка.
А пусть у меня ложится.
Is it Olia or is it Olga? What? Hold up real quick. Maybe it's like a nickname, like Anton is, like she was calling him Tony before. Whatever, we're just gonna go with Olia because it sounds cute. I thought it was a great idea, but Olia shook her head again.
Нет, у тебя не хочу. Она и на тебя смотрит.
I felt goosebumps all over my body.
Хватит! Нет никакой совы. Ты сегодня спишь у себя, ясно?
Ну, пожалуйста, мам! Пожалуйста!
Mom took Olia's hand and tried to lead her out of my room.
Пойдем, милая. Не мешай брату.
Olia clutched the bed's head with her free hand.
Пожалуйста, пожалуйста, пожалуйста! Не хочу к ней!
Mom was tugging Olia toward herself, but she didn't budge, only the bed's head squeaked in agony. That intervened by picking Oli up and carrying her out of the room, despite her desperate protests and pleas.
Не надо! Не надо к ней! Она опять смотреть будет!
They're really bad for Olia.
Мамочка, пожалуйста! Ну, папа,
I've listened to them struggling to make my little sister go to bed for a while.
мне страшно!
In the end, my parents gave up and let Olia sleep with them,
Последний раз,
but it was surely the last time, ever. When everybody settled down, I was lying in my room, thinking about Olia's words. It's watching you too. I felt uncomfortable. I barely managed to calm down, only after closing the curtains in my room shut. But as soon as I closed my eyes, memories of the day started jumping around in front of me. We kind of got pushed around. It really sucked. That whole bullying thing was lame. Oh, and just as a reminder, we're on the track where we hit the bully, where we hit, what's his name? Oh my god, Simeon? Yeah, we hit Simeon in the face, and then they came after us. And it turns out that Simeon isn't the main bully. It's the, I forgot his name too. It's the skinnier one that doesn't have messed up teeth. I was in the middle of the stuffy school corridor. I could see the literature classroom from here, the faces of dead classical writers on their portraits, the prim and regal pose of our homeroom teacher, Lilia Pavlovna. Pavlovna? Still gonna butcher these Russian names. Oh, and also, we did meet that other girl. I forgot what her name was, but we had an opportunity to either go with the Fox girl after school to go look for the missing kid, I believe is Vova, or to go with her and walk around with her so we wouldn't get bullied. So I imagine like something completely different happened there, but I'll just cover that at a different time when I get to it. And around that corner was her daughter, Katya, a snitch and a gossip, eagerly waiting for me. Oh,
новенький.
it's the one with the shit-eating grin. Katya's her name, so she's her daughter. Okay, gotcha.
Чего тебе, Кать?
She got on her tiptoes and started swaying, while hiding her hands behind her back, and then asked me with a fake smile on her face.
Скажи, пожалуйста, а чего это тебя к нам перевели, а?
That sounded so... I might have told the truth about this to Polina. That was her name, Polina. But Katya will sell it on the market for 3 kopekas. I don't know how to say it. What is that? It would be the same as printing all my thoughts and hanging them near the Volva's picture for everyone to see. So, I reverted to an answer I knew by heart.
Это все из-за моих родителей. У папы тут новая работа, а мама...
Katya didn't even listen to me, just rushed toward the perked up ears of her friends, whispered something while stealing glances at me, giggling. Like, look at her! Look at this face! This is evil! This is evil! I rebuke you!
Конечно, конечно. Он нас тут совсем за дурачков держит. Я вот слыхала, что это все из-за его отца. Он недавно кому-то крутому дорогу перешел, и теперь они всей своей семейкой в нашем захолустье скрываются.
Неправда! Ты все врешь!
А слышали? Слышали, как он бабулина просто так стукнул? Это каким надо быть уродом, чтобы в первый же день так над одноклассником измываться?
Dude, this is a snark mod. This is who this is. You're just making shit up.
Прекрати! Ты же знаешь, он первый начал!
И будто этого мало. Ходят слухи, что этот чудик повсюду таскает с собой
Oh my
заячью
god.
маску.
They told her.
Ой, девочки, ну кто же в своем уме будет такое делать? Ясно, понятно. Со странностями наш Антошка. Может, слабоумный, а может
So what? There's nothing wrong with being autistic.
и маньяк. Если в его портфеле хорошо покопаться, там и топор отыскать можно. Да-да-да.
Замолчи! Заткнись!
Вон как раскричался-то, будто ужаленный. А зрачки-то, зрачки какие широкие. Опять чего доброго с катушек слетит и руки распускать начнет. Не зря же его мать с таблетками пичкает.
I just stood there in confusion, trying in vain to understand how she found out about my medicine. What scared me even more was the possibility that her nonsense had some truth mixed in.
Да-да. Он такой же ненормальный, как и его сестрица.
Oh, you crossing lines now, dog. I would have already started swinging.
Представляете, к этой сумасшедшей дурочке каждую ночь прилетает сова ростом с человека.
Wait, legitimately, how does she know that?
Да-да. Только что-то ее никто из здоровых людей не видел. А этот наивный простак ей верит. Нет, ну вы представляете?
And then I caught a single kind look from the smirking crowd.
Это правда, Антон? Неужели действительно тебе не здоровится?
Полина, послушай меня.
Как же? Не слушай этого болтуна, Полиночка. Ты еще не знаешь. Он тебя на другую променял. Не из нашей школы.
What? What do you mean cheated? We're not even in a relationship. I literally...
На Алису.
What? I don't understand what's happening right now, gang. This must be a dream, right? This has to be a dream because there's no way that anyone know about that, and we're not in a relationship with Pony. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and call it and say this is a goddamn dream. Wait, didn't he say this was a dream? Did I already forget that? Ignore everything I said before. Ignore my complaining. Polina slouched as if someone kicked her in the stomach and then burst out in tears and fell to the dirty floor, wailing and screaming. I couldn't understand her reaction, but I still rushed to Polina's side before getting shoved violently by Katya.
Убери от нее свои лапы, чудовище!
Rage was building up under the veil of my fear. It slowly rose from the cloudy mist. I felt my upper lip creep up. What? I felt my upper lip creep up, showing my teeth.
То, что твой отец бьет мать, еще не дает тебе права поднимать руку на девушку.
My fists became hammers. I couldn't unclench them. Nobody can speak about my family like that. I came to my senses when I already lunged at the angry Katya.
Слетел-таки! Слетел! Спасите! Помогите! Петро с катушек слетел!
It's just evil. Look at this. Like, I'm sure this is a dream, but like whoever does the art for this is so good. I hate this girl. Oh god, that's so good. At the same moment, the crowd around her became louder. It started whistling and roaring and growing. The subtle silhouettes of my schoolmates became larger, wider. They shot upward toward the ceiling. Turned into a giant black forest chock full of toothy faces. Artist is just cooking, bro. I shrank into a tiny ball of fur and started shaking in fear before the might of ulcer-ridden trunks that belonged to either trees or human. It was all impossible to tell.
Ты показал свое животное нутро.
Yeah.
Трус!
Katya's face was twisted with jubilation and ecstasy. Damn. Well, she doesn't cry like that, for one. Polina screamed while choking on her tears.
Он! Животное! Чужак!
A scary flapping of wings came from the forest. A pair of giant white ears descended somewhere from above, and I dug myself into them.
Пожалуйста, вставай!
I jumped up, almost falling out of bed. Apparently, I was thrashing around for hours on the sweat-soaked sheets. Only a scream pulled me out, set me free from the tentacles of fear.
Антон! Пожалуйста! Вставай! Вставай!
It took my eyes a while to focus on the silhouette near the window. Only his voice was distant. My head was still ringing after the fight. Sounds got distorted as if my ears were stuffed with cotton. My sister, as distressed as ever, kept on repeating the same phrase.
Сова! Сова! Пожалуйста! Я боюсь!
Her tears poured on Her tears poured on my heart like boiling water, but I was almost thankful for the owl's appearance. Otherwise, this scared Olio wouldn't have woken me up.
Я сейчас. Хочешь, я тебе Мурзилку почитаю?
Shilka, is that what he said? A Soviet and Russian monthly illustrated magazine for kids. It's been published since 1924. The magazine uses an unidentified yellow creature wearing a scarf and a red beret as its mascot. Writers like Samuel Marshak and I don't know how to say that, A. Bartow contributed to the magazines early in their careers. Ooh.
Подожди.
I placed my bare heels on the cold floor. Felt around for my glasses. Remembered Simeon his underhanded act inside.
Антон! Пожалуйста! Пожалуйста! Посмотри!
She couldn't tear her eyes off the window, as if it was a staring contest. I found the light switch with my hand. The lamp poured bright light all over me. I got up. My vision fooled me, moving the window closer only to push it farther the next moment. My sister was just a blurry spot. I took a hesitant step forward. It's kind of moving, isn't it?
Оль, что там? Что-то случилось? Ты хочешь, чтобы я открыл шторы?
Нет, не надо! Там же сова!
The voice was coming from behind. I turned around and froze from terror. Teary-eyed Olia stood in the doorway.
С кем ты разговаривал, братик?
She stared at me with eyes that were red from crying, with her hands wrapped around her shoulders. Her voice was nervous, as if she was afraid to hear my answer.
Я разговаривал с тобой. С тем, кто притворился тобой.
The ledge outside my windows creaked ominously, as if something huge was sitting on top of it. The thing that pretended to be Olia started spreading, changing shape, grow to scary heights under the light of carnivorous moon. Yeah, that seems pretty normal. The voice didn't belong to my sister anymore. The thing that was hiding behind my curtains got tired of pretending, making me look like a fool. I pinched myself as hard as I could, hoping that the silhouette near the window was just a continuation of my nightmare, a hallucination brought upon by the curse of the house. And those don't bite, do they? The silhouette was towering before me under the veil of mist. I heard Olia's shrill scream when someone had knocked on the window. Another knock. I stepped back into the middle of the room. As if there exist nooks where I could hide from this horror. I want to see the full thing. Very cool. The sound was sharp, metallic. The lamp started shimmering, then it suddenly lightened the whole room and went out like a candle in the strong wind. The filament inside it snapped with a ringing sound. The darkness that was waiting for that exact moment poured from all the angles that enveloped me. There was only this window left in the whole universe. Moonlight poured through it, painting everything the color of bones that were exhumed from the crypt. Olia started squealing and pressed herself into my back, seeking protection. Then an eye, burning with a carnivorous fire, stared at us from the window. See this again. That's so cool. No, it wasn't trying to break the window. It was toying with us. It just kept on knocking, driving us mad. As if a giant clock was measuring the time left for us, its pendulum swinging above the abyss.
Уходи! Убирайся! Пошла прочь!
She was screaming in desperation, her hands clutching my arm like a pair of pincers. I could barely make out a pair of wings that spread out above the black spot.
Скажи ей, Антон! Скажи, что я больше не буду себя плохо вести! Никогда!
Is that what it was accusing her of? Being a bad girl?
Только пусть она уйдет!
This is all you can really get on kids, huh, if you want to terrify them.
Пожалуйста!
The moonlight suddenly disappeared and the room descended into darkness. We couldn't see the burning eye anymore. I swallowed the stinging lamp that was stuck in my throat. Not lamp, sorry. I stepped toward the curtains, entranced by the call of this disfigured guest.
Не буду, не буду, не буду, не буду!
Olia was standing behind me, mumbling, "I'll be good." Times 3. The bleak window was creeping closer, curtains rustled. I reached out to move them aside so I could look my fear in the eye. At that moment, I heard noise coming from our parents' bedroom. Without thinking, I pulled the curtain to the side in one swing. Nothing. Though there was something shining on the ledge among the scattered feathers. My glasses. The ones that Simeon took from me. How did they get here? Was it a gift from the gurgling night? Did that owl really bring them here? I looked at the front yard, at the foreboding clearing, the toothy forest. Not a soul, not a trace of our late-night guest. Only the old lamppost dreaming like a lone watchman among the snowy desert. The dry window frame creaked. I tore away the Sorry, that sound got me for a second. I tore away the insulating tape, the snipes of glued newspapers. Okay, let's see. We got a glossary for that. Window insulation. Before plastic windows became widely accessible in Russia, the cracks and frames of wooden windows were filled with cotton or pieces of cloth and sealed with self-adhesive tape or strips of newspaper soaked in soapy water to conserve heat in the winter. Big-brained. Opened the window with big trouble. Frost pinned me with its little needles. The paintings on my walls moved from the draft. I touched my glasses, sure they would melt in my hands, but they were real. My brain was scrambling for an explanation. Simeon and his gang just pulled a prank on me. That was it. That's it. A smooth, white blanket was glittering under the street lamp just outside our yard. If anybody was to get close to the house, to climb the pipe to the ledge of my window, they would surely leave footprints. There were none. Cautiously took my glasses. My wrist was still intact. Nobody pulled me into the darkness, full of restless writhing.
Вы почему не спите?
Swayed from surprise and almost fell out of the window.
Совсем сдурели? Жарко, что ли? Не болели давно?
Там сова была! Тоша ее прогнал!
А ну-ка марш спать к себе в комнату! А с тобой?
Are they gonna make us decide whether or not we're gonna tell her? Or like back her up or whatnot? Vaughn paused, directing her seething eyes at me. She was thinking of a punishment equivalent to my crime. In the end, she just waved her hand, took Olia by the shoulder, and left, throwing gloomy words my way.
Завтра поговорим.
I managed to get the frame back in place with a couple of hits, pressing the latches with all the strength my fingers could muster. The cold left the room, but the fear was still present. I placed my glasses on my nose and started studying my reflection in the window. It didn't look like a face, more like a death mask. Just like the one worn by the boy from the notice board. That night, I was on the edge of joining him there. Black and white face was staring at me through the clearing between student heads. And it wasn't Vova. His face was right beside it. I recognized the fat cheeks, the damaged skin. Oh, wow. Hold up, let's read this for a sec. Attention child missing, Simeon Bobarin, 13 years old, grade 6. I guess this doesn't mean class B. He left for school in the morning of January 9th and never returned. Features 155 to 160 centimeters tall, chubby, ginger hair, gray eyes. I was wearing a dark brown sheepskin coat and a beige scarf, a black mint hat, and Alaska boots. Please call these numbers if you have any information on Simeon's whereabouts. So bro went missing. Simeon. Barbara's photo was printed out and placed under the glass like an exhibition piece. Nice, it was the end of episode 2, okay. Episode 3. On in, the wolf's gray fur will stand. Is the one who hated Barbarin. Oh, are they blaming me? I've heard he's a weirdo. I hurriedly rubbed my glasses. The glasses? Simeon was clutching them in his fist while I was getting beaten up. And in just a couple of hours, this lost item was lying on the ledge of my window. It was hard to imagine that Sioma suddenly got guilty. Sioma? Suddenly got a guilty conscience and returned my glasses in such a strange way. I'm also wondering too, because like they do nicknames for everybody, and I don't know anything about the Russian dialect for real. Like I wonder if they just kind of like shorten stuff out sometimes, because I know there's a couple of translation errors in the game, but for them, did they mean like Simeon here, but they say like Sioma for like short or something? Like somehow is it like a way to say the name? I don't know. We'll just keep it going. I was shocked but kept walking toward the classroom, accompanied by nasty whispers all around me. That photo still stood before my eyes. Simeon has gone missing. Simeon is gone. His fat fingers will never get to my throat. His singlet ring won't smash into my chin. He'll never humiliate me again. Wasn't that what I wished for? On the other hand, did I really wish Simeon to become a murky stain on the notice board? He was still someone's son, or a grandson, and he went through the same struggles as me. I really wished for my unseen companion to dispatch him in such a brutal fashion. I didn't know the answer, or I was just scared of it. Nonetheless, school still had something nice about it. Polina, the girl with the violin, was like a mountain spring, like well water that you gulp down, pressing your lips against the zinc outer ring of a bucket. You can't ever get enough. You just met her. What if I make her one of the characters in the story I'll draw? The protagonist will save her from terrifying monsters. As soon as I thought of monsters, a bunch of my classmates slid down the rails smirking like xenomorphs from Alien. Great series, by the way. Alien is goated. I immediately felt larva fear writhe in my stomach. I didn't want to cross paths with Ren'Py and Biasha after what happened yesterday, especially since Simeon suddenly went missing. I entered the classroom and went toward the last row. All of the chatter suddenly died down, so I walked there in complete silence. I felt like my classmates pushed and poked me with their stares. They carefully observed my every move. They looked at me with a mortifying mix of pity, ridicule, and derision, like a scientist looks at an ugly representative of a newfound species of worm. I stared at the desk with a huge pile of library textbooks on top, my fists clenched. It felt like I was the one who disappeared in that snowy forest, and my desk was finally used for something worthwhile. Simeon's empty chair stood in front of me. The chair that once belonged to Volva gathered dust somewhere in another classroom. Do we have options? Oh, cool. An old cheap slide projector. I called this model a tank because it looked like one. There was a time when I had a lot of cool fairy tales that we used to watch with Dad in complete darkness. I remember Little Raccoon and One Who Sits in the Pond, Kipling's Mowgli, and many others. I was immediately swept away by the memory of the projector's hum, of its hot casing, of its bright rays hitting the wall, turning into a screen. It's a pity that the school slides were mostly about minerals and PSAs. I looked at the portraits of classical writers. My eye stopped on Essenine's photo. Last year, I was tasked with learning any poem, and Dad suggested I learn one about the dog Jim, written by Essenine. I don't remember all the stanzas by now, but the last one was somehow deeply ingrained in my memory. I'm sure she'll come here, in my absence. Please catch her eye. Go kiss her hand for me. For all my real or fancied errors asking forgiveness of her humility. Or inhumility, I believe. Every boy my age I knew had something like this in his arsenal. Oh yeah, these are so cool. Powder firecrackers that blow up with a very loud sound. especially inside an archway. It is said that they're produced in China and that a single one of them can blow your fingers off if you light it up and clutch it in your hand, especially the black corsair type. They won't be enough to blow up plastic soldiers, but when it comes to stuff made of plaster, they should work. After a moment of hesitation, I sat down at Barberin's desk, the place where I was supposed to be assigned by Lilia Pavlovna at first. The chatter resumed, as if someone just unpaused the movie.
Бабушка Бабурина такой кипиш устроила, когда он домой не явился.
Hello, evil from my dreams. Hello, nightmare lady. That face was insane, by the way.
Сначала в школу прибежала, потом ментов вызвала. Да-да-да.
If she really does say yes like that. Katya snuck a cunning glance at me, then leaned into her neighbor and whispered something. Girls from the second row also leaned in. She shared something with them too, whispered nods. I kept catching her stare on myself, her neighbor stare too. The whole class was watching me. It was like they felt the need to watch me because they were searching for traces of blood on my fingers. I wanted to defend myself and shout, "Guys, listen, I'm innocent." The delinquents turned around and stared at me in silence. Their looks were dripping with malice. But why? What did I do to them? Their friend went missing and they're still focused on me. Suddenly, I noticed Biasha drilling a hole in my nose with his eyes. I felt like he was about to point his finger at me and shout at the top of his lungs, "Everyone look! Barberin snatched his glasses yesterday, and now he has them back, murderer." But he remained silent as if there was nothing special at all about my glasses. Maybe going mad, but I think Biasha knows something. He knows something, but he won't tell me what. As if looking for protection, I clutched the ruler until my hand hurt.
Не надо быть Коломбо, чтобы догадаться.
Columbo. Glossary time. An American crime drama television series starring Peter Falk as Columbo, a homicide detective, the Los Angeles Police Department. LA. Good old LA.
Кто на Бабурина зуб имел? Кто его вчера ударил? Поиздевался, а после...
The metal ruler fell out of my weak fingers. It hit the floor with a jingle that made the other kids shudder. Katya bit her tongue and squirmed nervously. Hair scraped against the floor. My classmates moved away from me, closer to the exit toward the teacher's desk. I was not the only one to catch wind of that change. Romka and Biasha looked around and winced in contempt. Too bad that they weren't afraid of me like everybody else.
Прикуси ты! Бабурин, небось, с бабкой посрался и дымился. Скоро найдется.
Найдется, ага. Во враге, со вспоротым брюхом.
Katya, get a... You know what? We need someone like you. I gulped. We need someone like you in the story. Just for the drama. I imagine Sioma... yeah, I guess that is another word that they said. I imagine Sioma on a snowy blanket, his face white like a fish belly, split down the middle by the crevice of his mouth, snowflakes falling on his glassy eyes and filling up his throat. See? I could almost hear his condescending tone. It's all your fault. Why was Simeon the only one to get his just desserts from bullying me? Weren't all of them supposed to disappear? Ronka, Biasha, Katya, along with every laughing onlooker? Of course, Simeon did me a favor by disappearing. Thanks to him, my classmates now stared at me in awe. But that was only one side of the coin. What if I have to repay that favor soon? The door creaked. Polina entered the classroom. I straightened up in a hurry so she wouldn't see me looking like a scared critter. Polina went to her seat without looking at me. Yeah, because we abandoned her yesterday. I'm so sorry, my Shayla. She was so nice to me. The ringer's trill announced the start of the class.
Так, заканчиваем бардак. Дети, встаньте. Петров, тебя это тоже касается.
Lilia Pavlovna went to her desk, followed by a policeman in a uniform. It was the man that visited us just recently. Tall, and his stare was so sharp you could get cut on it.
Здрасте.
The music changed, nice.
Здравствуйте!
Садитесь. Познакомьтесь, это старший лейтенант Константин Владимирович Тихонов.
Well, that's a mouthful. Konstantin Vladimirovich Tikhonov.
Он задаст вам несколько вопросов, и проведет небольшую лекцию по безопасности.
Wait, can I just take a second to hear her say that again? That was so smooth.
Познакомьтесь, это старший лейтенант Константин Владимирович Тихонов.
Vladimirovich Tikhonov, that's cool.
Он задаст вам несколько вопросов и проведет небольшую лекцию по безопасности.
Лучше лекция от милиционера.
The class livened up. Talking to a policeman was way better than studying. I, on the other hand, was ready to sit through hundreds of hours of Russian literature just to escape the lieutenant's oppressive stare. His brown eyes felt around the classroom, looking for me. His hair stood on the back of my neck, and an icicle had lodged in my gut.
А правда, что Бабурина маньяк убил?
Katya, why do you have to look at me when you say that?
Екатерина, ну-ка цыц. Вопросы здесь взрослые задают.
Ekaterina, I actually really like that. Ekaterina, that's such a cool name.
Просто нам всем страшно.
Stop looking at me when you say that.
Может, убийца бродит где-то рядом?
Okay, don't be looking at me like that. I didn't do shit.
Или сидит у нас за спиной?
All I did was get beat up, got called names, and then went home, cried, and thought an owl was gonna kill me, okay? I didn't do shit. Her sly stare was directed at me. Oh, now she's smiling too. She's evil, dude. Tikhonov stepped in between the rows of desks and started walking at an excruciatingly slow pace, brushing his fingers against the chairs he passed by. Some of the students almost broke their necks following his movements. That's how a crowd of commoners would gleefully anticipate a public execution in the Middle Ages. And he just walked, getting closer and closer to me. I gritted my teeth to stop myself from screaming. Calm down. Breathe. You didn't kill or kidnap anyone. He already knew the answer to his question, but the policeman still asked in a stern voice.
Петров Антон?
Да.
Встань, Петров.
My muscles turned to stone. I got up and glued myself in the chair. I felt like I could hear all my joints creak in the process. I only wish that Polina wouldn't turn around and see the grimace of horror on my face. If only I could be somewhere far away in the forest, digging myself into a snow pile, rolling up into a ball there. Whoops. The officer stared at me as if he was about to lock a pair of handcuffs on my wrist. I wonder how cold those bracelets are to the touch. I imagined myself getting jailed and put into a juvenile detention center where tens of simians would constantly harass me.
Я ничего не знаю. Я тут ни при чем.
А тебя никто и не обвиняет.
Then why'd you walk up to me like that, bro?
Пока что.
Only then I noticed a file that said case number in his hand. It had a gray cover made from rough carton. It flopped onto the desk like a guillotine blade that slid down on someone's neck. With a measured motion, Tikhonov opened the file, still studying me with his gaze. I caught a glimpse of documents and photos. They showed prints in the snow. They looked like animal prints.
Ты с Семеном Бабуриным общался?
Я знал его всего одну неделю.
Все знают. Петров его. Не
Oh my god, go away! Teenage girls are scary, dude. I turned red. You ugly bitch. Chill. I wanted to sink my teeth into Katya's face and chew out her cheek. Oh, alright. Instead, I replied with the calmest voice I could muster.
Мы повздорили вчера. Но он первый начал. Я его ударил.
Сильно?
Да нет, так.
I waved my hand indecisively. Tikhonov looked at my fist as if he was surprised that I managed to hit a big kid from the photo. Surprisingly, Lily Pavlovna came to my rescue.
Бабурин проблемный подросток. С шилом кое-где.
The officer replied with a meaningful nod and fished out a notebook out of the file.
Это твое?
I averted my gaze. It was a math notebook with my name on it. My classmates devoured me greedily with their eyes. It felt like even the writers on the portraits squinted at me in suspicion.
Мое.
В лесу нашли. Там же тракторист, что снег убирал в последний раз, видел Бабурина.
I started blinking in bewilderment. Romka ransacked my school bag. This notebook probably just got lost somewhere in the bushes. The lieutenant knew about the school brawl, but was he aware of the fight in the forest clearing? I had witnessed that. No, I had witnesses that could testify to Simeon and I walking in different directions after that. I looked toward the boys, hopeful. Rumka, who sat behind Tikhonov, put a finger to his lips. When the officer quickly turned around, he pretended to pick his nose. I deciphered his signal. Boys like Romka would probably say something like, "Snitches get stitches," in a situation like this. Frantically fixed my glasses. Wait, Simeon took them away yesterday, but now they're...
Так что ты делал вчера в лесу, Антон?
Я в школу через лес хожу. Могла выпасть легко.
Easily, just like me producing this half-truth.
Будь осторожнее.
Before I could realize whether it was a genuine piece of advice or a veiled threat, the teacher said,
Класс. А сейчас лейтенант расскажет о правилах, которые вам необходимо соблюдать.
Так маньяк все-таки есть.
"Shut up."
Пока мы ничего вам сказать не можем.
You know what? I'm hoping that this character, that Katya here, isn't just all pure goddamn evil. All right, I'm hoping that it's one of those things where, because you know you're teenagers and it can be like complicated, everybody can be kind of shitty sometimes or whatever. She just we develop a better friendship with her, better relationship with her, not relationship like dating or whatever. But you know what I mean, like more complicated than just I'm evil, I'm a snark mod. All right, sorry. So we can't make any of this public now. Gotcha.
Но есть преступник или нет, вы должны четко помнить о собственной безопасности. Вас бережет милиция. Вас опекают родители и учителя. Но в первую очередь защищать себя должны вы сами. Итак, кто там что хотел узнать?
A stockade of arms rose from the desks. The kids shouted over each other, swarming the policemen with questions. In an attempt to calm down that chorus, he moved toward the blackboard. The gray file was left lying in front of me. I stared at it, my breathing so ragged that I might have looked like someone who just ran a 100-meter sprint. Beads of sweat rolled down my back. I looked around the classroom. My classmates were catching the officer's every word. Only Romka was saying something to Biasha. Lilia Pavlovna was staring into the window, fighting back yawns.
Комендантский час, причин пока нет. Слишком мало времени прошло с момента.
As soon as I touched the folder, he left it on my desk. Tikhonov flashed at me with his eyes. My hand instinctively moved away as if... I'm sorry, that just got me. My hand instinctively moved away as if that stare actually hurt. The officer just kept staring at me without saying a word, making me squirm under the weight of his uncomfortable silence and the sneering looks of my classmates. And then he suddenly continued his speech as if nothing ever happened. Hold up. Hold up. What the hell is this? Let's save right here. Oh, I see. Nobody paid me any mind, so I slowly opened the file. My fingers started sifting through the documents. Oh, this is the one that was on the TV. I am not going to say this name. Ksenia Talalaeva. Ksenia Talalaeva. I'll try to say it that way. Ksenia Talalaeva, 6 years old, left her home sometime in December. Identifying features? Okay. My heart almost jumped out from the ribcage. A round-faced girl no older than Olia smiled at me from this photo. The first victim of a serial killer? The first child to disappear in the forest without a trace. I turned another page. Vladimir... How do you say this? Matyukin. Matyukin, 10 years old. Volva was the second. His mitten hanging from the branch, his name called out by desperate adults and repeated the sneering echo. Lilia Panevka coughed, trying to calm down the rowdy students. I yanked my hand away, and the file closed. God damn it. I clanged my teeth from surprise, pushed myself in the back of my chair, blinking in bewilderment. He was turned around, that's not fair. The officer silently gathered the documents and gave me a stern look.
Больно ты любопытный, Петров.
Yeah, I'm curious. You left it on my desk and walked away.
И еще раз.
No, no, no. I don't care. I'm fine to miss his speech. So you know what? I kind of want to see something real quick. That's not going to really make a difference, is it? Because he was turned around the first time. So hold on. I'm just going to see. I'm just going to see. We're going to load this again, and I'll skip through that stuff. So we'll wait. So we're fine to look at this the first time, right? And I'm wondering if it was like a time thing. So I'll let him do this for a second. Okay, so that happens no matter what. Now, I just want to see one more thing. What happens if you simply skip? The officer finished his lecture and started searching around with his eyes. Finally, he noticed the folder he left on my desk, put it silently under his arm, and went toward the blackboard without looking back. Okay, no, I don't like that. I'd actually prefer it if he saw us doing it. So we'll go ahead and do this. And I kind of want to see the names anyway. So, what's her name again? Ksenia. We'll just go ahead with Ksenia, and I'm not even going to bother with that last name because fuck that. And we already know Vova. That's fine. Do this. Boom. You got that. I am definitely a very curious boy. Thank you very much, Tikhonov.
Если вы заметите в поселке кого-то подозрительного, неважно, возле школы или на лесной тропинке, сразу сообщайте в милицию.
Will do, Papa.
Телефон-то знаете? Спасибо, ребята.
Wow, that's a really easy emergency number.
Спасибо, Лилия Павловна.
Oh.
И это... Одноклассника вашего мы найдем.
Yeah, right. A thought flashed through my mind. Dig through enough ditches and maybe you'll be able to piece them together. Like Legos. My thoughts turned evil for some reason and I couldn't control them. I tried to switch to the lieutenant's speech about suspicious individuals. What if I saw the killer before? What if I was a hair's breadth away from them? Suspicious people. Well, this is also under the assumption that he's actually dead, right? The way they're kind of talking about him is like he's just dead. I feel like our character is just leaning way too into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it based on other stories that I've seen, but I think that he might just actually just pop back up. You know, he might be lost or something, might just pop back up out of nowhere in some weird way or some shit. So, how suspicious was the fox girl that wandered in the darkness? A weirdo that always appears out of nowhere and then dissolves into thin air with her riddles and rhymes. Could she really harm the hulking simian? Should I tell the officer about her? What if lives of other kids depend on this? The cute Ksenia and Volva too. Wait, what if I get mocked for speaking out? What if they'll start whispering behind my back, or what's even worse, think that I'm insane? Ren'Py gave me a stern look over his shoulder. I doubt someone like him would approve of cooperating with the police. Katya's braid dangled nervously behind the delinquents sitting in front of me. My hand was glued to the desk. Tikhonov was saying goodbye to Lily Pavlovna. He was about to leave. It'll be too late soon. Oh. Okay, so we got another decision here. For this playthrough, I kind of want to see what it happens when you do tell him. But I want to stay silent for this, actually, because I want to know what these guys are thinking. I feel like, excuse me, I feel like if I tell him, it won't do anything but antagonize them. They're already antagonists, but I feel like it'll push them to just, like, not really mess with us. And I want to know what he knows or what he's seen or whatever, because he wants us to stay silent for some reason and not talk about the fight. And I don't know if he doesn't want us to talk about the fight because he doesn't want to be caught for bullying the hell out of us, or if it's because it's going to, or maybe he just knows something. So for this playthrough, we're going to stay silent. No way. I've had enough of humiliation. I'll keep my head down like a bunny. I locked my fingers and zipped my mouth. The bell rang. Lily Pavlovna passed by without looking my way. Polina left after her. My classmates went silent at the same time as if someone muted the sound on the TV. They followed me with their eyes the whole time I was passing between the rows. Judgmental looks. I felt like I was in the scopes of mini sniper rifles. I squeezed through the barricade made of desks looking for Polina. I stumbled into my new buddies instead. Romka swaggered up to me.
Решил сдать нас ментам?
I could have, you fuck.
Но я ничего не сказал.
Да то подумал на.
Romka towered over me, breathing out a faint smell of tobacco.
Ты сильно ошибаешься, думая, что без Сёмы у тебя настанут веселые деньки. Мы тебя сосвету сживем, понял?
Okay.
До скорого, очкарик.
I hate you. My head tilted forward from his slap.
Вот да лохна.
You cannot talk to me with that haircut and missing teeth, bro. I wasn't surprised to find a note stuck to my back during the break. It said, "Kick me." My nightmare clearly wasn't about to end. Bullies. I hate bullies. Should I right now be curious and go back? You know what? We're gonna do it. Let's save right here. And then we'll load. Because I want to know what their reaction's going to be if I try to say something. So I'll hit tell him right now, because I'm sure everybody's going to act like I'm super crazy or something. I unglued my palm from the tabletop. I need to warn him, at the very least for Olya's sake, to assure her safety in the house. I actually don't think this is a good idea. I raised my hand heavy as a dumbbell. Almost 24 heads turned my way. My teacher, the officer, Polina. Katya shoved an elbow into her friend's side. Sleepy Byasha stretched out his neck. Romka frowned inquiringly.
Я слушаю.
It felt like I was being studied under a microscope.
Вчера утром по дороге в школу я видел незнакомого человека.
My classmates started whispering. Thickenoff frowned, a deep wrinkle adorning the space between his eyebrows.
Да откуда ему знать, чужак это или кто-то из местных? Он же в поселке без году неделя.
The other kids smirked. Katya flashed an evil smile.
Спокойствие. Антон, а сможешь детальнее описать?
Then it dawned on me. I can do more than describe them. What I can do.
Я нарисовать могу. Я рисую немного.
After spitting out this confession, I expected everybody to laugh, but that didn't happen. Even Katya stayed silent. Polina tilted her head and studied me with an intrigued look on her face. I was pleased by this wave of attention. It made me feel bolder, so I asked.
Нарисовать?
Tikhonov slowly nodded.
Лиль Павловна, мы тут проведем следственный эксперимент. А?
Пожалуйста, пожалуйста.
I took out a pen, flattened out a sheet of paper. The classmates stared at me in anticipation. Oh man, we're gonna get laughed at. Polina smiled, and it was the best reward I could get for my boldness.
Ну что, Ван Гог, рисуй.
Oh. Oh, okay. So we're gonna snitch on Alyssa here. I'm kind of curious actually. Could you do something like would this actually lead to something different? I'm just gonna do 1 1. All right, we're just gonna do it.
Вот, пожалуйста.
I handed my drawing to the officer.
Это что, лиса? Смешно, юморист.
No, please.
Прикажешь ее по лесу с собаками ловить?
No, not you two. Don't pick on me. Everybody else will laugh at me, please. Felt like the windows started shaking from everybody's laughter. Even Lilia Pavlovna couldn't help it.
Все не так.
А Чебурашка тебе не попадался?
Chiburashka is what she said. Go to the glossary and look at that. Chiburashka. A cult leader created by Edward, however you say that, as one of the main characters in a book. Gina and the Crocodile and his friends. He was later featured in a series of cartoons, some of which were produced in Japan. I was burning at the stake of shame.
Все ясно. Что тут еще скажешь?
Bikinoff crumpled my drawing in his fist.
Занимайтесь.
He left. Damn, I just killed the whole vibe. I brought the vibe up, then killed the whole vibe immediately. So hard, he just left. The bell rang.
Придурочный.
Okay. Is she flicking me off too? Damn. It didn't move. It just kept staring into space. Lilia Pavlovna passed by without looking my way. Polina left after her. My classmates went silent at the same time as if someone muted a sound on the TV. They followed me with their eyes the whole time I was passing between the rows. Judgmental looks. Felt like I was in the scopes of many sniper rifles. I squeezed through the barricade made of desks looking for Polina. But I stumbled into my new buddies instead. Okay, so it's sort of similar. Ren'Py swaggered up to me.
Решил сдать нас ментам?
Но я ничего не сказал.
Да то подумал на.
Ren'Py towered over me, breathing out a faint smell of tobacco.
Ты сильно ошибаешься, думая, что без Сёмы у тебя настанут веселые деньки. Можешь не притворяться дурачком, пытаясь удивить Полину своей мазнёй или корчить из себя психа. Мы тебя сосвету живем, понял? До скорого, очкарик.
My head tilted forward from his slap.
Вот да лохна!
I wasn't surprised to find a note stuck in his head kicked me. Interesting. I actually don't know which one I want to go with now. So I see that the differences are there. It is interesting how telling Dukovnev about or trying to draw a picture for him just got him to say, like, screw this. Like, why in the world, if you're sitting there as a cop and you're like, this kid's missing, you feel like something might be a little bit up with Antov or whatever, why would you not at least take into account what he's giving you, right? Like, why in the world would you draw a fox? Like, is it a mask, or you messing with me or whatever, and then you just leave it alone at that or whatever? I don't know. And then the fact that he said, what's his name? Ren'Py, he said that we're trying to impress Polina. How does he know that? You know, I don't know. We'll go ahead and my nightmare clearly wasn't about to end. Okay, we'll go ahead and save here again, and then I'll go back to the other one. I'll go back to the other one where we said nothing instead. It seemed like that it impressed Polina when we wanted to say something and tried to draw or whatever, but no. No, that didn't work out for us. And plus, we're still on the route where we didn't chill with her, so she's pissed off at us. So we gone back to where I didn't say anything instead. It's been 7 days since the lieutenant visited our class. At first glance, everything was still the same. The forest still held out its gnarly claws toward the village, and the wind whipped up white fangs weaved from powdery snow every night. My parents argued in the other room. I would turn up the TV's volume to silence their muffled voices and sit close to Olya. Volva's and Simeon's photos were still 2 black spots on the notice board. Round-faced Sinya hasn't returned home too. Something did change. I could see how different the looks of my classmates were. They met me with a new portion of pokes and insults. Contempt, mockery, and loneliness became my faithful companions. But most importantly, a shadow slid across my desk, leaving behind a mysterious note. I glanced into the space between rows, but the messenger was already nowhere to be found. Who sent me this note? What could this carefully ripped out and neatly folded piece of paper be hiding from me? More threats and humiliation, or... I took the piece of paper and carefully inhaled the wafting aroma. Blackberry. Inside the message in beautiful handwriting, I'm waiting at a dead end near the dressing room. Come alone. Drunk on that sudden call, I immediately started walking, looking over my shoulder from time to time, making sure nobody is following me. Even though I suspected it could be another trap set by Ren'Py at first, this buzzing thought soon left my mind. The two of them didn't have enough combined brain power to fake Polina's notes so carefully. I didn't even notice how I almost broke into a run and jumped around the corner. As soon as I did that, I rammed into somebody inside that dark nook.
Ой!
Like a magic bird, a green notebook glided to my feet. Polina puffed her cheeks in exaggerated anger.
Петров! Да ты совсем зрение потерял.
I fixed my glasses. My nearsightedness wasn't that embarrassing anymore. I bent down and picked up the notebook.
Прости, я так торопился. Ты меня ждала? Что случилось?
Polina studied me with her eyes and clicked her tongue.
А знаешь, на что ты похож, Антоша? На блюзовую импровизацию.
Like blues improv. I blinked in bewilderment.
Это как?
Для меня все люди с чем-то ассоциируются.
И для меня. Но не с музыкой же.
I think that's actually quite endearing. Never heard anybody like compare someone to being a type of music. I like that.
Вот как раз с музыкой. Бывают люди гитарные соло. Или барабанный бой. Или военный марш, как наша Лилия Павловна. А ты такой задумчивый, таинственный. Иногда немного печальный.
Yeah, I'm depressed.
Ты точно блюз.
А почему импровизация?
А это когда слушатель не догадывается, куда свернет мелодия, какой темп возьмет.
Of course, some of the things Polina said went completely over my head. I couldn't stop looking at her smile, like a light breeze in May, and her eyes deep and blue.
Чтобы распознать в тебе музыку, нужен опыт и вкус.
Them's bars.
Это не какая-то там эстрада.
Я, наверное, вообще не знаю, что такое этот блюз.
You're missing out, brother. Polina gasped and frowned, which made her look even more beautiful.
Не произноси при мне такие слова. Я тебе обязательно дам кассету. Раньше мне дедушка из города столько музыки привозил. И джаз, и свинг, и классику. Это он подметил, что у меня склад ума, как у музыканта. Я еще совсем маленькой пыталась на бумаге записать звуки природы. Пение дождя, леса.
Эх, мне бы твои уши.
А мне бы твои глаза.
I tensed up, worried that she was making fun of me, but Polina shook her head.
Да-да, я серьезно. У тебя глаза художника. Смотришь на вещи и фиксируешь их. Я так не умею.
Katia walked past us with her trademark frosty glare. We dove into the shadows, trying to escape it.
Теперь понимаешь, почему мы тут прячемся? Вот из-за таких, как она.
А Катька какая мелодия.
Polina flashed me a sly smile.
Скрип несмазанных дверных петель. Знаешь, такой мерзкий дискант.
I giggled, covering my mouth. Katia didn't hear our whispers, but she suddenly glanced over her shoulder, clearly annoyed. A moment later, she sighed and went her way. I remembered about the notebook I was still clutching in my hand. I turned it in my hands. Instead of a subject name, the front side had the name of the owner in 2 words. Friends only.
Любопытной Варваре кое-что оторвали.
Прости, это анкета?
Заполнял когда-нибудь?
Угу.
I lied that I had. In reality, girl classmates from my previous school had never asked me to fill out their questionnaires. It was quite upsetting. I mean, it was a girl hobby. You just answer a set of standard questions about your favorite actors and colors, but entrusting someone with such a notebook was the sign of friendship. Maybe of something more, something I only had a vague idea about.
Хочешь, заполни мою?
My heartbeat quickened.
Хочу, спасибо.
Polina giggled.
А хотя, там же столько секретов. Наверное, лучше тебе не знать, о чем мы, девочки, думаем.
She reached for the notebook, playing with me. I tossed my finding into my free hand. Polina tried to intercept my move. Her hair briefly touched my face, tickling my nose with its sickly locks. I said sickly, I meant silky. I sensed an aroma that immediately filled the whole world, fragrant, alluring, lively. If only I could picture it, steal it for myself. I felt dizzy, but I gathered myself and spoke in a voice reminiscent of Lieutenant Tikhonov.
Ваша анкета является важнейшей уликой, и я вынужден временно изъять ее для изучения.
Polina covered her mouth that rounded in fake horror.
Что мне грозит за сокрытие улик?
Следствие покажет.
Сдаюсь, товарищ милиционер. Только обещайте ничего не читать. Здесь содержатся секретные сведения.
Боюсь, что мне все-таки придется выяснить, не влюблен ли кто в гражданина Петрова.
That's some riz, bro. Polina burst out laughing and pressed herself against my chest, showering me with the aroma of her hair and milky skin that looked almost transparent, with tiny threads of veins running under it. Her whisper was hot, like a piece of butter sizzling on a pan.
Тогда поклянитесь, что не станете разглашать информацию.
I feel like we're gonna mess that up somehow.
Честная милицейская.
А теперь, Антоша, самое время поторопиться.
And took out the notebook during class. Skimmed through it, reading it to other people's preferences. I was quite surprised to discover Romka's jerky handwriting inside. Let's see what this says. One room up. Yatafam. 6B. Key, February, hanging out, buying a BM. Schwarzenegger, don't trust, don't fret, don't ask. Phone number, DuckTales, great cartoon, Yasha. His letters bulged out of the cells as if embarrassed by the sharpness. Fearsome Romka found time for something so silly. I chuckled into my fist after I found out that Romska's favorite cartoon is not even Darkwing Duck, but DuckTales. Yeah, DuckTales is sick. From in the distance, the teacher was reciting pieces of Andreev's Snapper. I paid them no mind. Polina's page was decorated with flower drawings and clippings from the Cool Girl magazine. Nice. Oh, so that does their name? What is this, their class? Franz Schubert, I don't know what that is. Listening, see the world. A dream is to see the world, I guess? Listening. Okay, I don't know. Her favorite musician was Schubert. Her best friend is her grandpa. Aww. Her hobby is not violin like I expected, but a much more mysterious listening. Could such a mundane process really be someone's hobby? I looked at Polina over the heads of the other students. She was focused on taking notes. I flipped through the pages until I found a blank one and armed myself with a pen. Antolv Petrov, Class 6B. It took a long time to decide on my favorite musician until a trendy pop band, Carman, came to mind with cool dancers in the music videos. Let's hit the glossary. Carman, a Soviet and Russian techno-pop band most popular from the late 80s to early 90s, founded by Boydan Titomir and Sergei Lomov. It is mostly remembered for unique dancing performances and writing a music theme for the Captain Pronin cartoon. Okay, it's our favorite music. Favorite holiday. This one's easy. New Year's. Halloween for me. My hobby is drawing. My dream. Going to Disneyland, I guess. My hero. My hand moved on its own, writing dat. Okay, I stopped on those two letters. What if those who read this after me will find my answer laughable and stupid? After thinking for a bit, I decided that not everything should be disclosed on paper. That's how Da turned into Spy-Dar, man. The spelling was wrong, but who cares? Your biggest fear, huh? I immediately wrote, losing a person who's dear to me. I was going to say losing Olia, but that's close enough. Phone number. No secret here. 30395. Your favorite cartoon. Transformers. Based? Your best friend. I hesitated, gnawing on the pen's cap. Your best friend. I read the question out loud. It was easy, but at the same time, very important. Answered that was my sister's name, so I carefully wrote into the squares, Olia. So cute. Olia. I repeated my sister's name while sneaking out of the school. There was a cute, freshly drawn dragon in my notebook that I made to please my beloved sister. In this land of darkness and deceit, her support was the only thing that inspired me to keep drawing and stopped me from losing hope in humanity. Refreshing, frosty air made my cheeks turn beet red. It was bright outside, and the sun looked like a whole egg yolk. The road looked as if it was silvered. The snow sparkled under the sunlight. I smiled, squinting from the blinding whiteness. Who cares if I don't have any true friends anymore? I have something more important, someone who needs my help, who will never betray or hurt me. Family is the most important thing ever. That's what Dad always told me.
Хорош рыбу тянуть.
Oh my god.